Just a humble request that there are lots of seats available and up for grabs to your left. So please push on ahead and occupy those spaces. A lot of front rows left as well. We're looking forward to a wonderful day with all of you. Thank you. requesting everyone to please take their seats and do keep your cell phones on silent mode. We're all set to begin with this wonderful day in the next 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds. So everyone, please do take your seats and welcome once again to the Schneider Electric Innovation Summit India 2026.
It's a new world out there, powered by energy that flows through its digital veins. And at Schneider Electric, we are ready to advance energy technology for a sustainable future.
To deliver the welcome address, please welcome to the stage Mr. Deepak Sharma, CEO and MD, Schneider Electric, Greater India.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Delhi. Good afternoon. Well, it's a pleasure. Namaste. Apologies for the delay. but I promise that whatever you're going to discover in the next part of the day, it will compensate all that patience you have been giving us. So again, welcome to Schneider Electric Innovation Summit. We're very excited. We're very excited because this is happening almost after 10 years in the country. And what we believe, and our group CEO believes, the ones who crack India actually crack the world. And this is why this Innovation Summit is so important, because what works in India, we know where we are inventing the future, be it the rains, be it the summer, or be it the 1.4 billion people who bring so much diverse applications, livings, different ways of languages, and the way we run our ecosystem, what works here actually makes it global. So it's very important we are witnessing something very, very different today in the next few hours. India is also set few examples across the world which makes it unique. I mean, I'm sure, like me, most of us don't carry those notes, bills anymore. Every second transaction in the world happens in this country. UPI did change the way we transact, the way we do commerce in the country. And this is something which is really touching everyone. Look at what we did when it comes to innovation. Of course, we were not the first, but when we did it in terms of frugal innovation, we did at 1/6 of the cost. That's the scale India offers when it comes to innovation and frugality. Now look at what we also do on the infrastructure. The amount of assets, amount of infrastructure we are building, be it airports, the amount of airports we have built in the only last 5-7 years, the amount of airports we're going to build in the next 5-7 years, the amount of roads we are building, the amount of electrification or the amount of network of roads and airports we are building, and the railways. Almost 1,000 kilometers of metros were built in the last few years, 2 decades. 400 was almost built in this part of the state. And you know what? 99% of it is electrified. So that's the scale we are talking in the country. Not only here, when it comes to data, while we may not be very proud of how much data we store in the country, but when it comes to the consumption of the data, 20% of the world data is consumed in the country. So India offers a very unique scale at the global platform when it comes to technology innovations, usage, development, infrastructure, and the growth trajectory we see in the years to come. It's uniquely positioned. And you know one thing, whatever I said, there's one common denominator. For doing all that, you need one thing, the energy. Because whatever we do, we need energy. Actually, you've been hearing this in the country, that energy is the next biggest UPI. And this is what will help us, or actually build the foundation to build the next phase of the growth of the country. And we're not talking about 20, 30 years. We're talking about 5 years. We're talking about the next 10 years. Actually, all the commitments the companies and the government is doing, we're all talking about 2030. So energy becomes the critical denominator for all whatever we want to achieve in the country. Now, is energy purely the way we've been producing and using will not be sustainable. And that's why I think countries like India have already embarked how to build the energy through fossil fuels, consumption which is going through efficiency, so that can be scaled up in the way that we can leave the planet in a more greener way for our generations to come. But the only thing which is also coming back to us is, how do we electrify? But when we electrify, we also make it digital and automate, be it the grids, be it the data centers, be it our homes, be it our factories. And that's why we need technologies which can make this energy digital, automate, and electrify, so that we can solve the equation of what India needs. And that's where Schneider Electric comes. We are your energy tech partner who can help to solve that challenge of the ecosystem, where we need to build the next phase of the growth of the country. We've been present in the country now for 60+ years. We have 31 plants, 38,000 employees, 8,000 people working in the country only for digital R&D developments, mainly for India and India for the group, or India for the group. And we've been doing a lot of those marquee projects. If you look at data centers, 1/3 of the data centers in the country are powered by our technologies. Almost 4,000 hospitals. Every second or metro or train station or the metro itself is powered by Schneider Electric. 15 million homes are livelihoods which are powered by Schneider Electric. So we have been present in the country for a very long time and been doing that build part of the country as we progress. So ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to discover in the next 90 minutes and then we have more surprise for you, is all about how do we develop this equation of growth with responsibility of efficiency, powered by electrification, supported by the data intelligence automate, and making it sure that it happens at the right speed. And this is where Schneider Electric comes as the most sustainable company in the world. This is second time we got recognized by Time Statistica as the most sustainable company to build that part with you in this country. We're going to hear a lot from our global leaders, and next I'm going to invite my Group CEO, Mr. Olivier Blum, to take us into details. But before that, we are also very proud to celebrate 190 years of Schneider Electric's service and contribution to this world. And before Olivier comes, I want you to see the video of our commitment to the world of last 190 years. Can I have the visual, please?
Schneider Electric has been advancing energy technology for over a century, powering innovation and shaping the way we live, work, and thrive. In the early days of electrification, we made electricity safe and ready for modern life, pioneering technology that redefined what's possible. With the first arcless fuse by Square D, Mueller-Geron's high-voltage circuit breakers, and the first contactor by Telemecanique, we turned power into progress, lighting up communities, factories, and entire cities. As computing emerged, we made it easier to program and control industrial systems. The first programmable logic controller by Modicon, the first distributed control system by Foxborough, and the first 3D plant design software from Aviva all pioneered modern automation, enabling mass production. By the 1980s, technology became part of everyday life. OSI Soft's Pi system empowered plant operators with easy access to their data. CPAM 2000 was the first medium-voltage digital protection relay, offering better speed, precision, and safety. ProFace's graphic touchscreen made industrial control intuitive, and APC protected our digital lives with Smart UPS, the first single-phase UPS. The new millennium brought advanced connectivity to industrial and energy systems. Resource Advisor became the first energy ERP tool, and ETAP's Grid Suite simulated and analyzed energy systems in real time. Wonderware's system platform unified visualization, supervision, and execution for industrial control systems, and EcoStructure, one of the first IoT platforms, made energy visible and systems interoperable across industries. In the 2010s, our innovation transformed traditional infrastructure into intelligent, connected ecosystems. Masterpact MTZ brought full digital micrologic to air circuit breakers, and Motivair's Chill Door brought high-density server cooling. Planon's cloud-based workspace management system transformed building operations, and PowerTag, the world's smallest energy sensor, boosted productivity across sectors. Today, energy technology can sense, think, and act. We are transforming energy management and industrial automation with AI-embedded, software-defined architectures for every sector. Automation Expert is the first open, software-defined automation solution. RM AirSet SF6 free switchgear runs on pure air for increased sustainability, and Wiser Home optimizes energy use from appliances to EV chargers. Our fully reimagined EcoStructure architecture brings new levels of energy and industrial intelligence to onboard devices, operate edge control, and optimize it all with software and services. From the first fuse to powering the future of quantum computing, Schneider Electric is, and always has been, your energy technology partner.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Much better, much better. You know, as Deepak said, very proud to be with all of you today. 26 is a very important year of Schneider, 190 years of innovation everywhere in the world. Yes. And you have been part, definitely in India, of all this transformation of our industry. But what I can tell you as a CEO of Schneider Electric is just the beginning. We are not going to stop here. We are going to go to the next level of innovation. And that's why we organize Innovation Summit, is to invite all the people working in our ecosystem, our customer, our partner, people from government, people from supply chain, and so on and so forth. And this is what Innovation Summit is about talking about all this innovation that will take us to the next cycle. As a company, as you have seen in the video, we have played an important role, I think, as a company. We have been present almost at every single step of each industrial revolution. We believe it's our mission as a company to always advance technology to the next level. But I do believe we are in this unique point of time in the life where you are entering in a new era. You know all those industrial revolutions in the past, 100 years. But I think we are right now in this next step, which is the era of intelligence, the era where everything is going to change in our industry. So that's very, very, very important. And I think there is a problem with the slide already. But we are entering in this era of intelligence where everything is going to change in our life, in our business, you can say almost in our homes as well. And that's very, very, very important that we get ready for this next cycle of intelligence. Now, you could ask the question, why are we entering in this new era? I don't know if you realize, but we are faced right now with 3 major acceleration. And when I say acceleration, it's not things that change, every 5, 10, 20 years. I've been in this company and I've worked only for Schneider Electric for 33 years, and I've seen our industry being extremely linear. And you can almost do the same thing for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and nothing changed. We have entered a new era where things change almost every single month. And that's very important that we try to understand together what is changing and how shall we change all the technology to get ready for the next cycle. So let me start by the new energy landscape. Everything is changing in the world, and some of you know, some of you don't know, but I spent 6 years of my life in India. I came for the first time in 2008 as managing director of Schneider in India, and I discovered a country where energy was a problem. Power was a problem. And I'm coming back almost 20 years later in front of you as a CEO of Schneider Electric, and I can tell you energy is not a problem in India, it's a worldwide problem. It's a worldwide problem because everything depends on energy. Your home, your business, your life overall. And by the way, we are unfortunately all living a very, very major global crisis with what's happening in the Middle East. And it just reinforces how energy is important. It's not important only because we need energy every day, because it's a geopolitical topic, and we all understand that something has to change. So what is changing, and why do we call that at Schneider Electric a new energy landscape? More than 10 years ago, we were one of the first companies in the world to engage in sustainability and to say the world has to be more sustainable. But if you want to build a world which is more sustainable, it has to be more electrical and more digital. Guess what? We are more than 10 years later, the train has left the station. Many, many, many usages are being electrified everywhere in the world. You can talk about car, you can talk about your home, heat pump, and we see that coming also in industrial sector. And this trend has left the station, and we have seen also already electricity growing very, very fast and the demand going to a next level. But when you look at what is the opportunity in front of us, we have just started. There are many, many areas that can be electrified in a much bigger way. And I'm not going to make it specific country by country, but of course in transportation, still many, many opportunities, in heating, in cooling. And what is also exciting in the industrial world, we see more and more opportunity, for instance, in steel and chemical industry to further electrify process. And when I say the train has left the station, 10 years ago for us it was a wish. Today it's not a wish anymore, because we see our customer asking us more and more on how to electrify and how we can make it more and more efficient. So what does it change? It changed one big thing, that the demand for electricity has grown extremely fast. And we see that going exponentially. Everything is in kilo-terawatt, which is just massive. You see +5 in the past, from 2010 to 2020. We are at 27, 6, 8, nobody knows exactly the number by 25, but everything is accelerating. But the most important one, if you look at where we are between 2040 and 50, nobody knows. But the lowest curve that you see is the existing scenario, but we believe that this number could be anywhere between 50 to 70,000 terawatt-hours in terms of worldwide demand. So it's just massive. It's just massive. When we say the world will get more electrified, and which is a good news when it comes to efficiency and sustainability, it has started. And what it has triggered, of course, a lot on how we are producing energy. And renewable, the generation of renewable, the addition of capacity in renewable is much bigger than any fossil fuel generation everywhere in the world, and India is one of the best examples, which make definitely electricity the cleaner source of energy in the world. Now, it changed a lot of things for all of you in this room who are all electrical engineers and knows very, very well. When you electrify more the usage, when you have more access to renewable, you are entering in a completely new world of electrical distribution. It's not anymore a world of AC. It's a world where we are going to live with both AC and DC. Sometimes you will produce in DC, you will use in DC, but in many, many cases you will have to work in an hybrid world, which is a world of hybrid electrical distribution between AC and DC. And it changed fundamentally the way we are doing our job, the way we are designing, the way we are constructing, the way we are building, the way we are using electricity. So all of that to tell you that we have entered already in what we call the new energy landscape, and it is changing by the day everything we are doing in the energy world. The second massive acceleration, and you know it, is really digital and AI. Digital and AI is basically changing our life. I will not ask you how many times you use per day ChatGPT or any kind of generative tool, but it has been a massive acceleration since the launch of ChatGPT. And we are just talking at this point of time about generative AI, the way where you do queries. But think about how everything is going to impact when it's going to enter in enterprise. I can tell you as a CEO of Schneider Electric, I would give an estimation that we have leveraged AI maybe at 1% of what it could do for our company internally. We are just at the beginning. And let's speak about when AI will enter in every single factories, building, data center, which is the case. We believe we are at the beginning of a very, very, very important transformation when it comes to digital. So, what does it change? It changes that we have to think about how those AI factory of the future will work, and that's why we are doing a lot of work with one of our largest technology partners, which is Nvidia, because they are the one building the compute for tomorrow. They are the one building the compute that will make AI possible for every single industry. But there is a consequence, is that with every single new generation of GPU which is coming in the world, the type of infrastructure that you need is completely different. And again, I was telling you before that we have been using electricity in a very, very linear manner for 100 years. Look at the evolution of the GPU of Nvidia, what it means in terms of power, in terms of power density per racks. It's evolving every 6 to 12 months. It changed completely the type of infrastructure you need to have. So today when we say 150 kilowatt per racks, I don't even know if it's 80, 100, 120, doesn't matter. But we were just at 20, 30, 40 2 years ago, and it's increasing very, very fast, going up to 1 megawatt. So it means that for all of us in this industry, we have to rethink the way we are going again to manage the electrical distribution of those future data centers. But it's not only about power, it has a huge impact in cooling, because the more power will be required, the more cooling will be required, and you have already crossed the line where air cooling does not work anymore. It has to be about liquid cooling. And that's why, as you know, Schneider Electric has decided 2 years ago to enter big time in liquid cooling with Motivair to make sure we can be one of those very, very few companies in the world that can bring power, liquid cooling, IT, UPS, and building management system together to make those data centers more power and more efficient also in terms of cooling. But you see again the type of impact that it has on our industry. Now, let's try to project where it's going. It's just massive. And I don't know if the slide that I'm sharing with you is correct or not, because if you look at what will be the demand for AI, and therefore what will be the demand for AI factories, or let's call them data center, we read everywhere maybe an extra 100 plus gigawatt by 2030 that will make 200 by 2030. I do believe those numbers are wrong. I think we are already probably at 220, 230 and even more. So we have a responsibility as an industry, again, is to understand how we make those data centers very efficient to support really what intelligence will bring to the world. Now let me tell you one thing, and this is a research that has been done by our research institute. We are still living in a world which is very inefficient. You know the world of electricity, which is very inefficient. When you generate energy, you transmit energy, you lose already 40% eventually of the energy generation, unless you move to renewable. When you look at how much you achieve or how much you lose from the unit of energy to what I would call a token, which is used for AI, it's close to 90% of energy that you are losing. So if you step back, you are living in a world where the new energy landscape is changing completely, in a world where AI will impact every single part of our life and business, where energy will become more and more important, but where everything is just super inefficient. The way we have designed power system for the past century is very inefficient and does not work in the world of today. And I have one more news to share with you. We are also in a world which is very, very fragmented. And I don't like it. I'm like you. I don't like to work in a world which is fragmented. I grew up myself, you know, as a young engineer and entering at Schneider in a world which was becoming more and more global, where you unify people, we try to be one. And at Schneider, we really value diversity and inclusion. Unfortunately, politics are such that the world is getting more and more fragmented. And as I said in my introduction, the topic of energy is a geopolitical topic. But unfortunately, this is what we have to live with, and the world is going to be more and more fragmented. So we have not only to invent the technology of the future, but the technology of the future to make sure that every region will be independent in managing its own future. So when you put all together, we are in front of us with 3 manager acceleration. We change everything in our life, everything in our industry. It will be more electrification, more renewable, more decentralized energy, a need for more flexibility, a more AC/DC, and so on and so forth. But we are living at a unique point of time, and that's why I say we are entering in what I call the 5th revolution, which is the 5th revolution of intelligence. And it's not that I'm dreaming about that, but I do believe this is the only way for us to face the trend we have in front of us, to make the world more intelligent. And if I have to summarize the why, fairly simple. Because AI is going to change everything. AI will require more compute will require more energy. But guess what? That's maybe the first time in our history where we can make those energy and industrial systems more intelligent thanks to AI. So it's a very, very, very virtuous cycle where AI will create more pressure on energy system, but AI will be equally the solution really to change the world. And that's why at Schneider Electric, we want really to be this company in the world that will advance energy technology in the world, the company that will be your energy technology partner. And it's not only that we are very, very proud to have been a strong innovator for the past 190 years, we want to continue to be that company that will impact the world and that will impact your business and that will help you also to navigate through this new landscape. So for us, it's very, very, very important that if we want to achieve it, I said it 10 years ago, our vision was a world which was more electrical, a world which is more digital. And if you want to make it happen, it's about how you build those unique technology that you put together to electrify everything. Again, the best and the cleanest source of energy in the world. How you automate, which we have started to do already for many years. But more important, how we go to the next level to extract those data that will help us to make systems more and more intelligent. So all of us know that Schneider Electric has been really transforming its technology stack for the past 10 years. We call that eco-structure, where we say we don't want anymore to be just a product company. We want to be this company that will bring innovation in product, in system, that will go to the control layers, but that will also bring software and digital services where you will be able to have access data. We know it was complicated at the beginning because not all the technology were available. I can tell you even for Schneider, when we were selling a medium voltage cubicle 10 years ago, it was not connectable. It was impossible to connect. Today, every single R&D program we make at Schneider Electric in all our activity, by design, by default, asset has to be connectable. Connectable because, again, we want to be able to extract data. And why are we obsessed by the data? Because we believe that efficiency will come from the full life cycle. Schneider used to be in a company that was providing product, equipment to all of you when you are building a factory, building a data center, building an hotel, an hospital. But we know that the only way is not only just to make those systems more efficient, is to be present at the design stage, to be able to simulate, to understand what will be the most efficient type of architecture in the future. And then you build in an efficient manner, and then you extract data. And once you have the data, you can operate and you can maintain, and you bring back this data to the design stage. So that's why we have built this unique portfolio, this unique technology stack with those 3 layers to be able to support you through the life cycle. But of course, we want to create a unique customer experience. We want to make sure that wherever you enter in that technology stack, that makes your life easier. And we know it's not always the case, because sometimes you still have different commissional tools, you have different way to look at that. And that's why I'm super excited, because I believe for the first time in our history, we can go to the next level. The next level, which is what? At every single layer of the technology stack, you want to extract data. You want to extract data from Schneider Electric system, you want to extract data from third-party system, and you want to make sure you create more value with those data for the customer. Now you can tell me, look, Olivier, it's very, very, very theoretical. It is not very theoretical. We have started to move the needle. And I would like to take you through the journey where we are going with all our tech team at Schneider. This is a world of yesterday, or you can say almost still today. The reality, you have many assets. Take a building like that. Probably you have many assets in a building like that, but you are still in the dark. Those assets are in the dark because they don't speak to each other. They have been built in a certain way that they are completely independent assets and they are not connected and they don't talk to each other. How do you progress to the next level? You start to extract data. You start to extract data, you start to centralize data. You can start to look at the history. But again, still those assets are not talking to each other. They are not very smart. It's just looking about the past, on how you have been managing consumption in that building, and that's it. And you start to put those data somewhere. And then you start to go to the next level where we are actually doing in many areas at Schneider. You start to put augmented AI. So what does it mean? You start to bring a certain level of intelligence, but again, a level of intelligence which is based on the past. But now, what you are starting to do, you start to create a relationship with those assets. It's still data about the past, but those data are extracted. You start to connect those assets together, and you try to bring a first level of knowledge. And then you go to the next level, which is a breakthrough, which is a cross-domain validation, what we call the ontology. You want really to make sure that you create one language for all those assets to work together, and they are getting smarter and smarter. But you don't want to stop there. The ultimate intelligence is really when you have this data federation that help you to create energy intelligence. And that's where really we are going through. And the ultimate stage, and again, it's not going to happen overnight, is when everything is AI native. It's not that you have just constructed your assets, you connect them, you take data, you federate, you make them speak together, but it's AI native by design, which is really what we call the ultimate level of intelligence. So again, we are not dreaming. We are in the middle of that level of intelligence. And I've been interacting with a lot of people in our teams in the past 6 months at Schneider or with our customer. And some people are telling us, does it mean Schneider Electric is going to become a software company and not anymore a product company? Not at all. The only way to bring energy and industrial intelligence is to have a very strong knowledge of those assets. how a circuit breaker works, how UPS works, how liquid cooling works. And when you are able really to have this knowledge, the intelligence of the asset, you connect them together, and you bring AI native, this is when you create the next level of intelligence. So when I was telling you we are entering in a new era of intelligence, I'm not dreaming. I can tell you, in this company for very, very, very long. For the past 10 years, we have built EcoStruxure. We have built an EcoStruxure to make all our assets connectable. We have been working on the control layers, on being more and more really software defined. We have started to create all those software with Aveva, with ZTAP, with Planon. And now we are really at this stage where we can combine all this knowledge, create what we call the data cube, which is a place where you combine data to really deliver what we call energy and industrial intelligence. So I am personally excited because it's not only that the world needs something different to manage this new really cycle in which we are entering, where energy is critical, where energy is critical for AI, but where AI can change fundamentally the way we are managing our system. And I think if we get it right, we will solve really the energy dilemma that you have in the world, which is a good reason to do it for sustainability, for efficiency, for security. As my predecessor, Jean-Pascal, used to say, you do it for your wallet or you do it for the planet, but it's good to have a world which is more and more electrified and more digital. So that's what we call energy intelligence at Schneider Electric. That's what we call industrial intelligence. It's a world where you are moving, where everything is smarter, everything is interconnected, and where, while you are sitting here today, you are in a world tomorrow where in your home, you have an electrical panel which is connected, where we are extracting data, where we are federating data, and where we can make decisions while you are sitting in that room, to make decisions that will help you to reduce electricity consumption, to improve the comfort of your home, that will anticipate that maybe this evening there is a storm, or tomorrow there is a heat wave, that tomorrow, the day after, there is maybe a war that will create a lot of pressure on energy, and your system, in a very intelligent manner, will capture those information from the past, those information for the future, and that will compile those information to make your life easier, to make your life simpler, to make your life more sustainable. So that's what we call at Schneider Electric energy and industrial intelligence. Of course, we don't want only to do it in home. We want to do it in home, in building, in data center, industry, and infrastructure. So it's an innovation summit where we want to speak about technology. So now we are going to do a deep dive and to start by what means exactly energy intelligence and what are all the innovation we are developing to make it possible. And for that, I'm going to invite Bin Lu on stage to tell you more about energy intelligence. Bin, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier, for giving me the key of the energy intelligence. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Bin Lu. I lead the power products business in Schneider Electric. It's a big honor to be here to share the stage to talk about the future of the energy. So let's get started. Let's look at what has happened with the power grid over the last 100 years. So the system has largely been very linear, stable, incremental. The power is generated in one part of the system and consumed in the other part of the system. Now, over the years, as you can see, the electricity is going up and the renewable energy is starting to enter the power system. Now, over the last 15 years, the acceleration has really started to happen. It reminded me actually one of the earlier journey of me coming to this country to help to build wind turbine factories for India. I was designing a specific product for the wind market. But look, today, it's amazing. It's amazing that how the country has achieved in the world of the solar, in the world of the wind. Today, India is the third largest country in terms of install base for solar. The fourth largest country in the install base of the wind. Big celebrations, you know. And at the same time, we see the battery storage system entering the world every single day. Big celebrations, big business opportunities for us and you guys. So with that, what is changing is electrification is accelerating. The percentage of the electricity as the energy source is increasing every single day. As Olivier mentioned, from about 20% now going to almost 50% by year 2050. So if you look at the future, the system is continuing to be more dynamic, bidirectional, and you will see actually more and more AC, DC, hybrid coming to the system. Look at this building. A lot of DC sources, a lot of DC loads, your phone, your computer, the EV system, the solar, everything's DC already. So we are living in the hybrid AC-DC world. As we continue, you will see 70% of energy, electricity will come from renewable sources. Big opportunity for us. Now, that requires the next level energy technology to handle the problem because the grid is getting congested. It's taking a long time to get a project connected to the power system. So as Olivier mentioned, Schneider Electric has launched EcoStruxure back in 2009. Over the last 15 plus years, we have built a success on this 3-layer system. Now, today, we're enhancing the EcoStruxure with more data at all levels, enhanced by AI at every single level, make the system much more intelligent. So over the next few minutes, we're going to climb the ladder one by one. Start with the base layer we call onboard. This is the connectable, connected products, which are serving as the nerves of the body, okay? And these products generate tons of data. And at the same time, we're working on the software-defined architecture for energy, for industry, to make sure that all these nerves are connected as the nerve systems. So this is where you're talking about edge control, communications. So with all of these, we welcome to the future of the electrical distribution, which is fundamentally defined by software-defined architecture and powered by advanced power electronics and solid-state technologies. So now, I'm going to show you a few real examples of how these technologies have in today's world. So now, Olivier showed you this slide. I ask you to focus on the color only. Okay, I know it's a complex slide. Green and blue. Green means AC. Blue means DC. As you go from yesterday to today to tomorrow, you see a lot of these green colors coming to the system. That's the DC source, DC load, which requires a lot of power electronics to handle the power conversion from AC to DC, DC to DC, DC to AC. Now, one thing to remember, power electronics by nature are software defined. So with all of these, imagine the future of electrical distribution, which is much more intelligent, generate a lot of data, and provide opportunity for energy intelligence. I'm going to give you 2 examples here. So the first one, I want to introduce you the solid-state breaker for the miniature circuit breaker family, okay? What I'm holding in my hand here is a very cool technology. It's fully powered by solid-state technologies. Now, in comparison of today or yesterday, you look at the size difference. Yesterday and today, or today and tomorrow. And when you put this system into this application, now in this specific example, we actually deploy this to one of the most mission-critical systems, the bullet train, the high-speed train. You don't want to have a failure there, okay? What it means to the customer is 44% size reduction on the panel and 66% energy reduction. So huge improvement on the efficiency. And at the same time, remember, everything here is solid state. That means there are no mechanical, electromechanical moving parts, nowhere. Make the system much more safe from arc and standpoint. And advanced algorithms help to actually improve the efficiency of the operation even more. And with the communication fully integrated into the overall vehicle control systems. And you see 3 times faster in terms of the lead time and 2 times faster in terms of the configuration time. So huge benefit. If that's not exciting enough, I'll show you the second example. Welcome to the software-defined industry automation, specifically intelligent motor control. As you can see here, on this side is today's technologies, big drawer with a lot of different components inside. And what I'm holding in my hand with one hand, is a device which is fully integrated with protection, control, metering, monitoring, diagnosis, everything in one single device. Now, how does this thing look like? All right? So This is basically a fully modular design. Again, solid state by design, modular by design. It saved the footprint by a sheer 90% smaller, 17% less on the number of the counts for the parts, and 80% reduction on the configuration and delivery time. And also, the advanced control algorithm make the efficiency of the motor even higher. Really cool technology. I'm getting really excited. So we're bringing all these technologies invented globally and also working with the customer's partner to deploy in the country. So to move on the ladder continuously, now you've seen how power electronics, software-defined architecture changed the world, right? Remember what you heard from our CEO, Olivier, just now. With all these devices, the two I just talked to you, and also all the products you're gonna see here in the floor, we're getting everything connected. So when we say energy intelligence, it's not just a layer of software and services, it's more than that. With all the connected products, all the connected systems, the software and the services, everything is combined into a unified, intelligent operation. And with that, we actually really bring the visibility of the operation to the customers. Remember what Olivier mentioned, it's not just the product, it's the whole life cycle benefit to the customer. I also want to remind you that we have great software like EcoStruxure, Resource Advisor, which collect billions of the data points from thousands of customers, from you guys, from your customers. And also we're launching new generation of the Resource Advisor we call Resource Advisor Plus, which is digital by design and AI enabled by birth, right? So with all of these, we can provide even faster decisions, even better than a human being. So with all of that, I want to finish my presentation with one important application. We talk about many applications. You'll hear my colleagues talking even more. What has happened in the last 1 year and a half in this country and in the world? Think about when we talk about the new energy landscape, what has changed on efficiency, power density, energy density, speed of deployment, amount of energy required to power everything. Data center. Data center is the real example that combines everything that we talk about. So with that, I'm going to invite my colleague Manish to come to the stage to talk about what Schneider is doing to put energy intelligence in AI data center we call AI factories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bin Lu. For our next segment, please welcome to the stage Mr. Manish Kumar, Executive Vice President, Secure, Power and Data Center Business, Schneider Electric.
Thank you very much, Bin. First of all, I'm so happy to be with all of you, especially this city, Delhi, which I call one of my 3 homes beside Amritsar and Boston. As a kid, I used to come here, so I love this place. So great to be with you, all of you. Now, let's pick up from where Bin left. We are innovating new energy landscape. We are defining software-based architecture. We are bringing unified intelligence layer. Now, I'm going to bring all of these together home in 3 of the Schneider's largest end market, which is data centers, buildings, and grid and infrastructure. We are bringing all of these 3 constructs to bring value for all of you. Now, there is no better place, we all agree, to start than data center where the most action is happening. So let's dive in. Data center, all of us can agree, are evolving. The data centers of yesterday are going to become AI factories. AI factories. Why we call that? Because with higher power densities, higher rack densities, the AI factories demands are increasing. Whether it's a power, whether it's a cooling, whether it's software, control, supply chain, speed, everything. We are ready to meet those challenges, but we have to think differently. We cannot do data centers the way we used to do it. We have to think holistically from a full life cycle stage perspective. Going from design to build, operate, and maintain. So let me go into step by step. What does it mean? Let's start with design. Now, design is where you are committing the future of the AI factory. You all will agree there are multiple subsystems, and traditionally, some of those are silos. But we need to consider all the subsystems and the system interactions that happen between these subsystems. For years, we have been producing what we call reference engineering designs that are helping customers all over the world do the data centers faster and efficient. Now, we are partnering with Nvidia because we are starting to think from chip outwards, because chips are dictating what's going to be the power architecture and what's going to be the cooling architecture. And we have to think about the interaction between these. We call it, you have to think about grid to chip and chip to chiller. How are we going to power and how are we going to take the heat out? Now, we have recently announced Vera Rubin design, which is available to everyone openly, that you can use to accelerate your AI factory build-out. Now let's go into simulate. Simulate is very, very important because here we are embracing the OpenUSD framework and also Nvidia Omniverse. Traditionally, you have different digital twins operating in silo. We are bringing our intelligent digital twins for power flow, for airflow, for water flow, bringing all of these things together under a unified model. What does it mean? You can simulate everything as an AI factory together. You can go into the granularity of the AI factory and you can validate digitally, fine-tune before actually you start building these things physically. Now, once you have simulated and you have a digital factory, we go into the build phase. Build phase is where simulation will become reality. Here, let's start with power architecture. You bring here switchgear, UPS, PDU, bus bars, which is the backbone of the most important part of the digital AI factory, which is electrical architecture. But going forward, this electrical architecture need to respond to also all the GPU ramps up and down, constant high load pressure, as well as remember, it's also going to challenge the grid as well for more resiliency, more flexibility as well. And what Ben said, with software-defined architecture of electrical distribution, as well as the energy intelligence that is available through these, we are going to be able to solve all of these challenges together. Now, let's go from here to the cooling. Why? Because more power is going to generate more heat. I'm very proud to announce that we have been recently named #1 liquid cooling company by Data Center Magazine. Cooling is the next biggest control point in a data center. I can tell you if you can't get the heat out, most likely you are putting the biggest investment in a data center at risk, which is your compute. Your compute is going to underperform or its life is going to go down. That's a place you don't want to cut corners. And thanks to our Motivair acquisition, we have unprecedented expertise of cooling extremely high thermal loads, AI-grade cooling. And that experience comes from cooling 6 of the 10 world's largest, fastest supercomputers with Motivair. So I highly recommend that's a place you don't want to cut corners on the quality of the product. Next is speed is very becoming important in data centers. There is a race to build AI factories. The only way to build that is through prefabricated modules, whether it's a power or AI parts. Schneider has 10-year worth of experience building those prefab modules and shipping, I can tell you, thousands of units every year. Thousands of units every year powering some of the largest data centers. And I can tell you there is a detail that matters in the quality of those. So it will bring you faster deployment, higher quality, and greater scalability as well. Now let's go to operate. Sorry, before we go to operate, Bill mentioned as the densities increase, we are also going to see higher voltage architectures coming into picture. And I'm very proud to announce that with the Nvidia GPU roadmap, we are innovating to bring 800 volt DC architecture to our customers, starting from rack all the way to the full factory as well. And I also want to say I'm super proud because all this infrastructure I talked about, from power, cooling, prefab, everything, we are manufacturing right here in India, starting with the liquid cooling CDUs and prefab already started. Now, let's go to operate. Once we have built the AI factory, we have powered it, we're going to start generating a lot of data coming from subsystem. And that's where our energy intelligence, automation, software control, that takes center stage. Now, with AI factories, the scale rises. The stakes rises because AI factories are going to power the most mission-critical infrastructure. You can't take chances with that. I can tell you with AI factories, the number of points to be monitored goes from thousands to millions. You cannot think it with traditional systems. So you have to think differently. This is where we are bringing all of this data into a common unified data that Olivier mentioned, data cube, and that allows to bring AI assistance for all your facility operators, data center operators, so you can now manage these data centers efficiently. Now, once you have the data, let's go to the maintain phase because we are building these data centers for 20+ years. These are long-term assets. To maintain these, we are bringing EcoCare service offering. And we have partnered again with Nvidia to bring Nemotron models that will help us bring agentic AI into our service offering. Now, with agentic AI, we are going to augment all our service technicians, remote or field. So imagine your workforce is multiplying. And you can manage these large, complex factories at scale and increasing your operational efficiency. I'm going to give you one example, Compass Data Center. So this is no more a theory where we are delivering the lifecycle maintenance services, and it's reducing the number of visits by 40% and increasing the OpEx, decreasing the OpEx by 20%. So a great, great progress there. Now, AI is transforming every industry, as Olivier said. We are very excited. But I can tell you, AI is going to demand more. More power, more cooling, more software control. And when AI demands more, Schneider will deliver. Let's quickly go to two other segments, buildings and grids. Now, buildings typically are largest consumers of energy and also biggest source of wastage. We are deploying the same principle, bringing all the data from subsystem, breaking the silo, and we are launching a product called EcoStruxure Foresight that is going to allow us to bring everything together and then augment with AI agents to be able to have our facility operators manage these facilities like this much, much more efficiently. Let's go to another critical end market, which is grids. Grids are the backbone that carry the electricity, right? But as Ben and Olivier mentioned, grids complexity is increasing. You have a distributed energy, you have high demanding load, and you have variable loads as well. There is no way you can manage the grids with traditional system. I'm very proud to announce we are launching one digital grid platform that is going to sit on top of your existing investment and help you, again, think of holistically about your grid investment from planning, operation, asset management, and helping you maximize your ROI. Now, this is a glimpse of innovation and energy intelligence we are bringing to these three end markets. And much of this innovation, you will be very happy to hear, have fingerprints of our world-class R&D engineers right here in India. And big thanks to all those innovation engineers. Now, speaking of innovation, we are not going to do everything by ourselves. We believe partnership and ecosystem is very, very important. Innovation, ecosystem. There is no better player that is doing that today and talk about it other than Nvidia. Nvidia is really accelerating, and I'm very, very excited to invite Mr. Vishal to come on stage, Managing Director South Asia of Nvidia, to talk about AI and ecosystem of partner. Vishal, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. Vishal Dhupar, MD, Asia South Nvidia, for a fireside chat with Mr. Manish Kumar.
This is big. Much bigger than I saw from here.
So we're going to have a little fireside chat, and we're going to learn not only about AI, but also how NVIDIA's culture as well. So let's, Vishal, get started. We were both together in San Jose, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at GTC, and we saw Jensen talking about 5-layer cake of AI. Why don't you start with what does it mean? What does it mean from compute, innovation, and where is Schneider in that cake?
Wow. So Manish asked me a question before we started. He said, don't question my question. So I said, why can't I question you all? And I said, go ahead. So I have a question for you. We spoke so much about AI. How many of you have used in the last 24 hours either OpenAI, Claude, Gemini? How many of you have used? I think it's literally the entire room.
I think our future is great of compute and AI factories, with the number of hands.
What you probably haven't realized is that a second before you asked that prompt, there was no answer. And the answer got manufactured. The answer was electrons moving through copper, processors doing trillions of operations, heat getting generated, and then coolants coming into play, all instantly. That's why to call any more information age as data center place is wrong. In fact, we are in the age of intelligence. And intelligence is being manufactured. And that intelligence can only be manufactured if you have AI factories. How can you manufacture anything in a data center which was supposed to store files and retrieve files when you want it? Think about it. Now, if I move forward on that same principles and we go to the story of the cake, this cake is sumptuous, but you can't take icing alone. Icing is where OpenAI, ChatGPT, everything resides for demos. You've got to bite this cake where the sponge resides. And I'm going to break it up into 5 layers. The first layer, for the reason why we are here in this room, is energy. That's your home turf. It's so important that I haven't entered Dwarka for the longest time, but if I add Dwarka, Rohini, and all the other adjoining areas, combined, all households will consume the same amount of electricity as would one hyperscale data center. Think about it. All households in 3 locations consuming the same amount of power, and the operating cost of that belongs to 2/3 of it is energy. So obviously, we got to look at energy intrinsically. And that's the foundational layer. And that's why this partnership is so important. I didn't realize the color green has come so solidified that we got to be together. Even my colleague is wearing a green color. The next layer is really the chips. Now, when people call, I'm often told this, can I get some chips? Sure, you can get chips. But these are not chips the way the chips were designed for 50 years. For last 50 years, we took a processor and we put it in a metal sheet, and we had a deflationary power called the Moore's law that brought the cost of the software down by half every 2 years. Unfortunately, the laws of physics don't permit it to shrink the ICs anymore. Now is a complex system. You got to build multiple chips together. So many of these chips running in parallel in a single rack. And like you saw on the slides, 140 kilowatts, 150 kilowatts, 250 kilowatts going up. These can be a single rack. Now somebody would say, so much of power. And I would say, if you took the traditional model, it will be this entire room filled with computing, not a single rack. That's the difference. And again, the chips and the energy needs to marry together so that that wastage is taken off. They say 1 gigawatt of data center can cost you as much with compute, $60 billion. Okay, 60 B for billion dollars. Can you afford to waste 10, 15, 20% of that? And the answer is obviously no. Then the third part is really the infrastructure. This is where concrete, copper, chillers, switch gears all come together. This is exactly the reason why each one of you is in this room. This is where the magic starts getting built up. You're taking your digital experience and transforming that digital experience into tokens. And tokens have value. And this value is what differentiates it. If you waste it, it's gone. It's like oil. Oil is coming out, you got it in a barrel, you got a barrel, and then you got to refine the barrel. The barrel will cost you $75, but if you refine it rightfully with right mathematics, you could make margins better than your competitor. It's exactly the same story with tokens. And then a layer above that is the models. And we are talking about models. We just culminated AI Summit. Olivier was there, and we heard India building models. Why? For the very first time, we are building models because natively, historically, our nation is unique. We speak in multiple languages. Our diversity is extremely high. We represent 1/8 of the world. The complexity, what happens here, is very different. We got to take our 5,000-year civilization, build in our common sense, our sensibility. That's where the model resides. And then really the applications. The applications could be around our grand challenges, precision agriculture, healthcare, mobility, everything around that. But you can't do any of this alone. It has to be built one upon the other. And that's why this partnership is so special. In this cake that I just defined is the energy intelligence, the computing intelligence. And that's why these two companies come together and create a single backbone which makes the world work together. That's our story on the cake.
Vishal, thank you very much. You answered my second question as well. Our partnership, which is becoming very, very important, where energy and compute is coming together, and we are very, very complementary. As yet, the goal is to produce more token for less watt. And you mentioned $60 billion and 10-15% even wastage could be a huge amount of bill. And making tokens more efficient, we can really democratize the AI and make sure it is pervasive across all industrial application, across every part of our life. Now, I'm going to ask you something that I'm very, very uniquely impressed by Nvidia, which is ecosystem and partnerships. We saw that at GTC as well. Nvidia is really able to mobilize the whole ecosystem of partners, right? Where does it come from? Where does the philosophy come from?
It's a very simple philosophy. If you don't do well, we can't do well. We are a platform player. We need to make the ecosystem work on our platform for prosperity. And here is a little statistics. For every dollar that Nvidia makes on its platform, $8 to $10 walk into the ecosystem. That tells you the reason why we need an ecosystem to build. We prosper where you prosper. In fact, we even go to make a statement. If you grow, we grow. But if you have a bottleneck, we have a bottleneck. And our bottleneck right now is energy. And that's why the lanes have merged. Not long time back, I'm quite certain Olivier would have told to Jensen, hey, let me solve the energy problem, you go and solve the chip problem. But the reason they came together to work on this is fundamentally because they know that energy problem is even long sustained. Everybody tells me, oh, chips are in shortage. Chips are in shortage because the demand is greater than the supply. But I can still supply you chips. But energy, it takes longer time. This morning when I was talking to Olivier, he said, in 2028, planning has already commenced. If you're not going to talk about that to us now, forget 28, start thinking 29. And as Indians, we need to make sure that we are projecting correctly what we need to do, because there's a change in the way our country used to do it. There were some great set of people here. They brought us a lot of prosperity, but they always gravitated where infrastructure was being built. Today, this infrastructure is being built here. We spoke about India AI. You saw Reliance making announcements, Adani's making announcement, Hiranandani's making announcement, Tata's making announcement. Those data centers are being built here. Not only the data centers are being built, models are being built here, applications are here, and that's why it is so important that this ecosystem gets done here. And that's why the importance of each one of you in this room is so, so very important.
And Vishal, thanks for bringing that. Even Schneider, in the history of Schneider, we have been absolutely focused on creating a large ecosystem in our world, whether it's an electrician, panel builder, contractors, to make sure we all together, as you said, grow the pie and actually bring the growth not only to the industry, but also all the money that comes with this and the growth that comes with it. And I want to highlight, some of you, can see the screen. Here shows our partnership, and we are bringing together a reference design, working very closely between our teams on next generation of GPUs and inference chips that you guys are launching, so we can work on the full holistic architecture from grid to chip and chip to chiller.
That's right.
Now, I'm going to ask you a very personal question, which is kind of, a lot talked about, is the culture of NVIDIA. We have heard Jensen has 60 plus direct reports. We have heard about, as a company, very distinct mission-based culture, and of course, the speed at which NVIDIA moves, right? So I want to a little bit get some insight from you. What is NVIDIA's culture? What makes it a very innovative and speed company that moves at very, very high speed?
Well, I'll give a little slant to this. This question gets asked many a times, but the answer is much more simpler than the question sounds. As a company, we have always sought to solve hard computing problems. The reason why we seek hard computing problems is for a very simple reason, because the problem is hard, there's no competition there. Nobody solved the problem, it's $0, you don't really need to worry about getting the share of the market. But imagine if you solve that problem, then the oasis belongs to you. Now, you can create the market, and you have solved the world's problem. And this only happens if you have belief and conviction. I'll give you a small example. I know how many of you have heard about CUDA. Some of you have heard about CUDA. We invested in CUDA in year 2006. Everybody said, out of mind. How can you put more pressure on your margins? Why would you do it? Where is the market? And we continued to do it. In fact, it took us 6 years to get to the notice that CUDA was important. But think about it, why did we invest? We spoke that physics wouldn't allow the traditional compute, the general purpose compute, to grow. Accelerated compute was difficult. If you had to make it easy, you needed CUDA. And we made CUDA available on everything from gaming cards to our automotive chips to SoCs to every single chip so that the compute becomes easier. Eventually, 2012 happened. And AI discovered the GPU, and GPU discovered the AI. Rest is history. Not only do we do that through conviction, we also do that with speed. We are always on the edge, not because we need to be on the edge, because we know if we are not on the edge, it was an opportunity to help people understand at the academia level, at a researcher level, the power of accelerated compute. And we spent 6 years just trying to explain to people what was needed, and suddenly one day, AI happened and people figured out, if I bring AI to the high-performance computing, this is how it is done. Today, people find it easier to adopt it because they understood what is needed here. So not only do we require a power to think, but we also need speed at which we think, and most importantly, our conviction. In fact, I'll go one step ahead. This is what India needs as a nation. It is not about what is happening in the rest of the world, what we need. And if we bring together, I have zero doubts, India soon will become the global capital of intelligence. Why? Fundamentally, the complexity that we have in our country, the volumes that we have in our country, the innovation that we need to do on the price is unprecedented in any part of the world. If we do it here, we got to be the global intelligence capital of the world, and the world will see us. So what I need in this room is to come together. There is a huge opportunity. Let's get onto this bandwagon and let's make a difference to India.
Vishal. Thank you very much for your wise words. Ladies and gentlemen, as Vishal said, let's make India a force when it comes to AI factories and really power our economy. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate Vishal Dhupar.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Thank you very much. With that, let's move to the next chapter of industrial intelligence, and it's my pleasure to invite another Manish, my colleague Manish Pant.
Thank you so much, Manish and Vishal, for such an insightful session. And now, to explore the future of industrial intelligence, please welcome to the stage Mr. Manish Pant, Executive Vice President, International Operations, Schneider Electric.
Thank you, Manish. And thank you, Vishal. I think in Schneider Electric, after Olivier, probably Manish is a good name to have. So I think we will switch gears here and talk about industry. You know, India is also about, you know, on top of data centers, it's also about industry. And why industry is important is because industry is a place which is the largest energy consuming sector today. Globally, 1/5 of the global GDP is coming out of industries. And yes, in terms of the electricity demand for India, which is growing very fast at 6%, 1/3 of that demand is going to come from industry. And yes, industries would be probably still bigger than data centers just because of the magnanimity of what it is doing. Now, India will grow, the Indian industry will grow. The big question is whether this growth is going to be intelligent. And I think today the theme has been how we are able to bring intelligence on energy, but also how we are able to make industrial intelligence, and how does this evolve into the Revolution 5.0 that Olivier talked about in the beginning. So I'm going to talk about 4 innovations that are going to answer that question. as to how industrial intelligence, how we are going to make industrial intelligence future-proof. So let's start with what Schneider has with its subsidiary company called AVEVA, which is a global leader in industrial software and intelligence. And together with Schneider Electric, with AVEVA and Schneider Electric, we have been bringing a very large domain of industrial expertise across various industrial segments. There are a lot of data which is being generated today in the industries which are siloed and which are not contextualized. We are here to say how we are able to use that data and put it to use and bring intelligence on top of that. The data is powerful, but still there is a gap which is available. There's a gap that we see, because for industrial intelligence through AVEVA we are able to bring, as you see here, the full across segments, the design, build, and operate and maintain. So we are able to visualize our plants and see how the process is flowing through the full industrial cycle. But there is a gap which is missing. And the gap is, we see today that there are process on one side and there is energy on the other side. These are two domains which don't talk to one another. Olivier mentioned that in his presentation. There are a lot of dark spots. I think this is a big dark spot which is there. Today there is, you have different teams which is looking at energy and the process systems. You have different people looking at it. You have different screens, in fact, at which you look at them, and they don't talk to one another. Now, why it is so important? I take the example of a chemical plant which is running 24/7. And let's say your energy prices spike at sometime at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The system continues to run, your process system continues to run at full capacity, and you're probably overpaying for that energy consumption. Maybe you could have done something about it. Energy is important because it is 20 to 40% of the operating cost of an industry in general. Now that's a significant waste. And I know that this is a challenge that all of us are facing in some form or the other if you're running a plant or a factory. So we talked about Data Cube. You heard us, how with Data Cube we are able to bring the domain expertise, how we are able to federate the data, whether it is in your energy system or in your process system, together with looking at the full life cycle, which is what makes it the full cube. All of this put together, you are able to bring the energy system and the industrial intelligence, the energy intelligence and the industrial intelligence into one system. These two worlds are coming together, and therefore you are able to get a full domain expertise. You are able to make a digital twin of your full process, of your plant, of your energy, and to see how this is going to run depending on the different variables. And you can simulate all of that before the reality strikes, or when things change that are not favorable, or even how to make them more favorable. Going back to that example of the chemical plant that I talked about, which has now when a peak happens, an energy spike happens, and the price of electricity goes up at 2 p.m., your industrial system, your energy intelligence system, and the electrical, the energy system and the industrial system. You see, it's not easy because it's a new paradigm. They come together, and you are able to now adjust your non-critical loads, and while your process can run smoothly. So you are able to reduce your energy consumption without impacting the process. And this is possible today because of this system that today is brought uniquely by Schneider Electric. So what we have to do is to see how we are able to bring this at scale, bring that in real time, and do that in one system. You are not just reacting to something which is happening in your plant itself, but you are able to adapt yourself to what is happening in the larger ecosystem or the world around you. Now, once we have built the platform and the intelligence and the unified data layer, we have to see how we are able to bring intelligence to the factory floor. It is, if you remember what Bin had shown before, we are going through the same structure from top down. The way we are able to do it is to what we call as software-defined automation. We heard about software-defined energy. Now it is about software-defined automation, how we are able to move and complement hardware, or move away from the traditional hardware to software which is able to now control our system. I will give an analogy. We talked about UPI early at the beginning of the event. Before UPI, every bank had its own system. It was slow, it was expensive. We were locked into that system. Now, what UPI did, it opened the infrastructure. The banks didn't change, but the payment process became much more simple. The reason it became because it was an open system. Apply the same thing into the industrial applications, where industry today is faced with exactly the same problem, that it's closed, it's proprietary, once the system is closed, it is actually costing 7.5% to 25% every year. And if you're a smaller company, then you are even more impacted because you are locked into those into proprietary systems. So open software-defined automation is helping decouple hardware and software using open standards. So you can have a compute which is coming from one vendor, you can have software which is coming from another vendor, and you can have IOs which are coming from another vendor, and you can put them together. So what it delivers is that it is bringing freedom from legacy system. You're not tied to anyone. It gives you the flexibility. If you want to expand your operations, you want to change your architecture, you are able to do that seamlessly. You are able to get digital continuity because now you have a software system and you have the data which is able to help you continue. It's about distributed intelligence. Now the intelligence is residing at different nodes, and if there is an issue with one of the nodes, and maybe it's better for me to go back to that example of the chemical plant that we talked about before. If there is an issue with one of the controllers, the software will automatically optimize and transfer that control to another node or to another controller so that your process continues to function in the same way. And this is, and finally, of course, it is faster to engineer and cyber secure because you could do the engineering on your design tool and then transfer it directly onto the system and the architecture once it is installed at site. So open automation, software-defined automation through EcoStruxure automation expert of Schneider Electric is available here in India today. And because it is software-defined, you are able to run agentic models on it, and the intelligence is able to help you take decisions and make sure that your process is always optimized. We talked about software, but it is not just about intelligence and data layers and software defined. It is also about some of the hardware which comes together with it. And I'm pleased to share here is an Edge IO, which we have recently introduced, which has intelligence, which is bringing intelligence to the factory floor. Again, going back, what it does is it helps you reduce latency. It is making sure that the decisions could be taken closer to the machine inside your plant. So we are going inside the plant now, and therefore there is much higher reliability of your processes. Again, going back into the chemical plant example, the engineers are able to configure this I/O subsystem digitally in advance. Therefore, they are able to reduce the installation time by 25%. And more importantly, in this chemical plant where there are probably some hazardous area, you are able to keep the personnel out of that, because once you are installing it, you are able to directly download all the software so that the processes are running. On top of that, together with this, we have also been recently launching some new drives, and here is the Altiware drive, especially for building systems, which also has intelligence inbuilt in it. So once it receives instructions from the intelligence layer, it is automatically adjusting torque, speed, and energy consumption in real time. So this is the way how digital and physical come together. So we are talking a lot about software, but as you see here, it's not just about the software system, but how hardware and software are coming together in this physical world to deliver the most optimized performance in your installations. Now, why this is so relevant today? Because India is where there is a lot of complexity, scale, and there are a lot of competitive pressures that are rising. So this convergence is not just an opportunity, but it's of strategic imperative for us to take it. It's one of the fastest growing industrial economies. You see here, manufacturing is clearly going to be a large part of our GDP, and together with energy demand, which is going to be multiplied over the years. India is not a retrofit country. India is a new build country. This is the amount of new investment that is going to come in. So as we build this future, it is something that we could do right from the beginning by deploying all these technologies which are available today into our industrial installations. We are very proud to make it real and contribute towards making this country Atmanirbhar and making it on the path of being a Viksit Bharat. What I just explained is also for real. Talking about examples here, I want to bring what we have done in the Raichur water distribution project. This is where there are 2.5 million people who have been using this system. There are about 2,000 real-time data points, assets, all the way from treatment to distribution, which encompasses energy, automation, and operational data, which is brought together into a single connected platform. So it exists today. So Raichur is not a pilot. It is a place where this system is working and is actually delivering 20 to 30% savings in energy cost and therefore emissions, and also 10 to 20% improvements in operational efficiency. To conclude, I would say that this is, the value of intelligence used to be in the knowing, about looking at the dashboard, about looking at the alerts. Now that era is over. The value is now in how we are connecting energy and intelligence together, moving all the way from design to build to operate, at the same time moving from our connected devices to edge and to the cloud. Schneider is a unique company that is able to bring this together, the energy and industrial intelligence, and to take you to the next frontier of competitiveness. So we are here to demonstrate that, and you will see more of these applications a bit later in the Innovation Hub. And to conclude, I now invite Olivier to give the conclusion remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude our theme of intelligence, please welcome back to the stage Mr. Olivier Blum, CEO, Schneider Electric.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you, Bin. So I hope you enjoyed really this demonstration of the vision of the future. But what I want to share really in just a few minutes, we're not talking about something which is going to happen in 10 years from now. What you will discover behind this curtain is that all this vision we've shared with you is a reality. It's ready to be implemented in home, in building, in data center, infrastructure, and industry. And of course, we are going to progress all together to create this level of intelligence. This level of intelligence also will require more than product, more than system, more than software. It will require, in some cases, some services to help you, to guide your enterprise to go to the next level. So the reason we are really creating this Innovation Summit is to make sure we can work together. We can build the future of technology, and of course, the future of what will happen in India. And I can tell you, if I share, what has been my experience with this country. As I said, I landed for the first time in my life, end of 2007, to be the managing director of Schneider in India. And I remember the world at that point of time has embraced big-time mobile phone, smartphone. India was late. India was catching up. And all of a sudden, in a couple of years, India has been leading in the world of smartphone. And then what happened a few years later? I was outside India and e-commerce was booming everywhere in the world. And guess what? India was behind. And it came later. And when it came to India, it went super fast. Now, what I can tell you, there is always one place where India has been leading. It's in cricket. This we cannot debate. This we cannot debate. And congratulations, by the way, for the World Cup. Well done. But the challenge I would like to give to the room is don't lead only in cricket. Let's lead together the next era of intelligence. And we, Schneider Electric, we are committed to lead intelligence in India. And why I strongly believe that India can lead the era of intelligence. Vishal, you said it. This country is unique because of the number of people, because of the infrastructure, the difficulty to manage infrastructure, the external environment is making everything more complicated. But why India is unique? Because we have the largest number of electrical, automation, and software engineers in the world. We have the people, we have the intelligence of the people that can make it happen. But why this country in India? Because this country is moving much faster than any other country in the world. You have the resilience. We call that resilience in my country. Here we call that jugaad, agility, resilience. So you have everything together, and I strongly believe to lead this time the era of intelligence and not be behind the other country, but I do believe, and also Vishal mentioned it, because of the number of models India will build, everything will be much complicated, much more difficult to achieve, and you said it, Deepak, in your introduction. I always said in my life, since I went to India, if we get it right in India, we'll get it right to the world. So that will conclude our technology keynote, but I'm strongly convinced that we are at a unique point of time where we can create intelligence. We are committed at Schneider Electric, like Nvidia is doing with the entire industry, not only to connect systems, but to connect people, to connect technology, and of course, we want to take you all together as an ecosystem to make India the leader in energy and industrial intelligence. Now, that has been our vision, our technology keynote, but now I'm going to invite Deepak back on stage to talk real stuff which are happening right now with customers. Thank you very much again for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blum. And now, everyone, for the final session of the day, please welcome Mr. Deepak Sharma, joined by Mr. Madhav Das, Whole-Time Director and Senior EVP L&T, and Ms. Radha Dheer, CEO, JLL India.
Before Madhav Das ji comes and Radha comes on the stage, welcome, sir. Thank you. Please sit. Please sit. I think Manish said it's good to have Olivier name in the, and then he said Manish is a good name, but being MD of Schneider is also good in India. You know, where do you land finally in the group? So, Olivier, we'll follow you. We'll follow you. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I know it's been little extra few minutes, but we want you to spend another 20 minutes with us because what you've been hearing so far is from us. We have brought two leaders, Mr. Madhav Das ji, please sit. Thank you, sir. And Radha from JLL. So Madhav Das ji is from Larsen & Toubro. We're going to take around 15 more minutes to talk about how whatever we said, how does it reflect in the real world? Are we ready? Are we talking sense? Are we really off track? And really hear from them, being the industry experts. So Madhav Das ji, sir, we have been seeing you, watching you, building the energy grids, the infrastructure for the country, not only in the country, but outside the country too. I mean, a lot of work doing, Larsen & Toubro is doing under your leadership also in Middle East part of the world. We spoke about a lot of energy. We spoke a lot about AI. We know energy would be one of the challenges, but it also comes to the grids. The grid resistance, resilience, readiness, stability, and that all boils down to the data and how we will make this grid stable. How do you think India is ready or can get ready in the next phase of the growth?
Deepak, thank you, and it's a pleasure talking to all of you. I think we are at a crossroads when you think of it. The energy demand in India is growing at a phenomenal pace. We are looking at increasing our generation multifold. I think the way it has been happening in the last 5 years, phenomenal increase in the grid, in the energy consumption, at the same time energy generation, and that also multiple sources of energy generation. And that requires a very resilient grid. And that has been the biggest bugbear for India, and we have been working at, I think, over time creating grids. Now, when you say grids, it is the sources of energy are spread across India. We have in the western part, huge amount of solar energy, wind energy being generated. It has to come throughout India, and hence it requires a very smart and intelligent grid system. And when you say intelligence, I think the word intelligence itself means to sense what is happening beside, across, near you, get enough data from it, then do the analytics, apply it, see whether there are changes happening and what sort of consequence comes out of it, and then again build upon it. And that is exactly what we are trying to create in our energy system today. We are trying to create an energy system which is very reliable, which can manage the grid very intelligently. Just imagine today with so much of solar power coming in, even if there is a small disruption or if one of the power plant controllers fail, it could create a grid stability, and since we have a single grid across India, it could create disaster for us. And hence we require a grid which is very intelligent, and which is what is happening today. Hence, as per me, an intelligent energy system is what will bring an energy autonomy for us. And I think today we have been seeing across the globe that energy security is going to be the biggest thing, and hence creating a grid which is intelligent, when I say which can understand what are the problems, it can predict how to move out from one area to the other area. These are things happening across. And just to bring to your attention, I think we have one of the largest national transmission asset management network in India. We have which Power Grid runs in India today, which controls 270 substations at any time. Hence, we are already on the path of creating a very intelligent grid system, and that is what is happening. It will require all of us in this room. It will require organizations like Schneider and everybody coming in to bring the latest technology into it. But that will take some time. It will take a huge time to do it, and that is something which we have a strength in this country. Today we have some institutions which are really working over time in creating what is the future grid. It will surely happen, but it will take some time. I would put it that way.
We said we need it, but it takes some time, so you have to build it.
Because with such a vast system, we are one by one increasing. If you now look at it, we have reached the 765 kV grid levels. We are creating a system which is taking time. It is getting implemented. I think in the next 4 to 5 years, you will see a system which is extremely reliable. Today itself, it is very reliable, but with so much of diverse energy source coming, we require a little more better intelligence system.
But do you think it could be a roadblocker to the growth of what we want to build?
No, I think that is where I think simultaneously it is happening. But if you see in the last 2 to 3 years, we never had a grid problem. So there is simultaneous work going on at the behind the screen. And I'm sure that with the way the organizations have geared up here, this is not going to happen. We'll be easily able to match the need.
Thank you, Mr. Madhadasji. I'll come to a very different topic. We're going to talk about buildings. You know, India is crossing around 1 billion square feet of office stock and is ready to build another billion, is what we all know. And this time it's going to happen a lot also in tier 2, tier 3 cities. I mean, we'll build these buildings in our tier 1 places also, but a lot of expansions comes in the smaller towns. So Radha, what do you believe? I mean, all of us want to understand in the room that this energy intelligence, future-ready building can this really change the way we work, we live, we operate, while we're continuing building the next phase of our growth, knowing the energy challenge, knowing the intelligence which is going to hit both from the energy side and with the way we operate buildings. So.
First, Deepak, thank you for inviting me. And before I answer the question, I want to congratulate you on an incredible summit. When I landed yesterday, it was great to see at the airport Schneider Innovation Summit 2026. So big congratulations to you and the whole Schneider team. So why don't we first talk about what are the advantages of an energy-efficient, intelligent, future-ready building? So buildings which consume less energy, which use natural resources, which can withstand climate stresses, and climate resilience is a very big topic now when we are talking about buildings. The value of those assets keeps going up. Smart buildings which use IoT sensors, building management systems, and data analytics, our research shows that their operational costs are 20 to 40% lower than conventional buildings which do not use these systems. Let's give another statistic. 35% of the office leasing that was done last year was with global capability centers. Now, all these top firms which are coming to India, for them, net zero, sustainable is just par for the course. And I actually say net zero is now honestly borderline. We need to start thinking the next frontier for me and for us at JLL is positive carbon, right? And we've come up with a very interesting equation for future-ready buildings, which is sustainable into intelligence, into human centricity. And we have to start looking at buildings like that. Now, when we talk about tier 2, tier 3 cities, and if you're going to look at institutional investors moving there to build commercial real estate, at a minimum, it's going to be based, and these are going to be built up, right? So then let's not talk about retrofitting right now, which, by the way, is a $450 billion investment spend on our existing buildings, which we can do together. So let's talk about tier 2, tier 3 cities. So institutional investors, when they're looking to go there, and if you're going to do greenfield, at a minimum, it will be based on renewable energy, waste management, water efficiency, and digital infrastructure. And I've already discussed what the advantages are. And if in these cities there is a power grid issue, these smart buildings will anyway use less power.
Thank you, Radha. Very, very promising. You touched about the existing install base, the existing buildings. By the way, we've done these data as visible in our research reports that the biggest consumer of energy today is buildings, right? We're talking about 35%, 40%, depending on the countries. Now, you spoke about renovating the install base, right? What you have, the operations we run. Where do you see that we can bring technologies there? You know, the CapEx challenge. How do you maintain the AI-driven simulations, the digital twins? How do we deploy technologies on an existing building? And where JLL sees an opportunity, but how do you handle the challenge of the CapEx, OpEx? Help us to understand. How do we really make it happen? When you say, let's do it together, but where is the winning equation?
So, like I said, the existing buildings, we've done some research that to retrofit them, to make them into smart buildings, it could take close to $450 billion of investment. I also talked about how smart buildings, if they're using these IoT sensors and these building management technologies, the operational costs are 20 to 40% lower. So developers with existing buildings are actually looking at the long-term benefits. Now, moderate retrofitting is so easy. We can put AI predictive maintenance technology to check faults. That kind is so easy to initiate. And new buildings, of course, I feel it should be done at the design level. If we show them the long-term benefits, I feel developers are very open to retrofitting their buildings. Also, there is a green premium which occupier clients give to sustainable buildings, and actually there is a brown discount. And we will see more and more these old conventional buildings, if they do not adopt technology, they're going to be empty.
So you mean this becomes the need of the hour, and the builders, then JLL, Schneider, they can all come together.
Yes.
So you mean the money should be available, and there should be reasons to invest. If the payback we promise, we believe that in 2 to 3 years you can actually get the payback for what you do for this. Thank you so much. That leaves that hope that there are possibilities for greenfield, brownfield. Madhav Das ji, coming back to you, we spoke a lot about intelligence. We're talking about intelligence in action. We see technologies we live. But if you look at energy intelligence, especially for the grid, and the most challenging what we see as a next phase is how to adopt it. We still see the discoms are, a lot of them government-driven. Policies are still not that exciting to transform. We all respect. I think India has the biggest distribution network, by far the most stable network, right? This is said and done. But when it comes to transformation, what do we really do, to make it this grids, data-driven, intelligent? What should we change? What should we really do? What would you do, or L&T do? When I say L&T, means the ecosystem do.
See, our country is very complex. I think that we should keep in mind. The energy needs vary from region to region, from place to place. The need of that energy is very different. So I'll split this into 3 parts. Let us take the transmission network, which takes the energy from the remote source to the center of the cities. I think that I has been telling you is one of the most robust system in the world what we have today. Yeah, it has certain issues in terms of possibly how do we manage congestion, how do we manage the renewable resources coming in. Because of that, there are curtailments. There is requirement of storage, reliability, and cyber security. But the best part of it is these points have been already addressed. The whole national institution like CEA and all have come out with clear guidelines, which is getting implemented. So it's a matter of time that this congestion will go off. There will be no issue on the power generation and reaching it to the areas where it is going to be used. Next comes the distribution, which is the real crux of the issue. Today, I think we have started moving in the right direction. For example, by making it mandatory to bring in smart meters. Once you bring in smart meters, you have data coming in, you have intelligence, what we have been talking of, we can start applying it. That is the second part of it. The third is, I think the whole focus in India for the last few years was to ensure that electricity reaches every remote corner of India. That has happened. So now I think the government has pushed it into the next level where we are now trying to bring smart distribution into picture. I think some of the discoms have already taken the right steps. For example, if you take in UP, Noida and Varanasi have already started implementing SCADA, have started bringing in intelligent transformer systems, and this bringing in drones for complete distribution management. We are bringing in automatic fault control systems. All these things have started getting implemented. But this comes at a cost. So hence, I think we are taking step by step to see what are the benefits coming out of it. I think the first level was to reduce the A&T loss, which has been brought down. Next is this intelligent system, which is getting implemented. I'm sure in the next 2 years, you will see that most of the discoms starts implementing it with a lot of policy changes coming in, where their accountability is increasing. They will have to start implementing these sort of intelligent requirements into the grid, into the distribution system to ensure that the faults get isolated. You have immediate backup coming up, which already many of the discoms are doing it. So intelligent RMUs, all these things have started getting implemented. I think with organizations like you, the only thing is what we have to do in here is we can't force feed a product into the system. We will have to create solutions which are required for India. And that is where organizations like us and you can join together to bring in systems which can be adapted, which is the latent requirements of the requirement. I would put it that way.
So very well said, sir. That was my third question. If you say we can do it, right? Let's say Larsen and Toubro and Schneider Electric come together to solve a city. How would we make that happen? Because at the end, all these discussions get stopped somewhere when it comes to, let's go to my traditional way of doing A breaker versus B breaker, A substation versus B substations. How can we really make it happen? Because what we're talking about is the speed. Vishal spoke about, Olivier spoke about. How do we really make it happen? What should I do for you or you can do for us so that we can go to the DISCOM and make that real example of saying, I'm not signing any order today, Madhav Dasji, but by the way, just want to clarify. But I'm saying more from a strategic partnership perspective, what do we really do to make that move happen in an accelerated way?
I think that has been one of the major issues that most of us have been looking at the problem in a very narrow way. We look at the issue from our point of view. I think the best thing that can happen to the industry is we co-create systems. That is, we go together, we first understand each other, what we have, what we can offer, go and meet the distribution clients and say that we can put up this experimental things for you. I think that has started happening. The biggest thing is that we should start co-creating systems. We should go and discuss with them. You have certain strengths, we have certain strengths. There is a need which may not be exactly met. Maybe we'll have to modify some of them. As you said, resilience, you have to bring in a little more modifications into it. I think we can do it, provided we start co-creating the systems.
Well, thank you so much. That confirms what Manish was talking earlier with Vishal, that how Schneider and Nvidia started working together in creating those user cases or reference designs, which becomes, and I'm sure there are still more to come, but when you start co-creation, and I think this is where I think one great example comes for companies like us, and again, Larsen and Toubro, that where we can bring those engineers together on a use case and build together. So I'll take that to building. I'm assuming you would agree to the same answer, but I will tweak the answer to make it a bit more complicated. We can design, we can build a common architecture. I'm sure Sushil is going to put all the money and say, yes, do it. But let's say we have the money, builders have money. Why the adaptation is still so slow? Why are we still in a convincing mode and not able to get builders? Well, why is not building hunting us? Why we have to go to builders and hunt them out? So why that acceleration doesn't happen? Even if you have a core design, even if we have the money, even if we have clearances from the top, where is that inflection point? What is holding us back in the country?
So I think it's how we view buildings. We view them as finished products. I feel we should view buildings as digital assets, which are unfinished, and they require continuous change with time and whatever the requirements with respect to regulation, etc. In fact, I always say buildings are living things which improve living beings. And artificial intelligence can help us identify, predict, and even accelerate this implementation change. And that is how the two of us could actually help communicate that to the building community. In fact, Schneider is at the forefront of deploying and developing technology that can create energy efficient and smart buildings. And I love what is the building as a grid concept. You must have heard of that. If we use that approach, then buildings can be looked at as dynamic energy hubs that create, store, manage, and even trade energy. And Schneider can actually be at the heart of these transformative solutions. And together, we can look at retrofitting of buildings. I told you that there's a $450 billion investment which is required for existing buildings. But how about being co-partners in actually creating and convincing builders to have a green premium assets, which could be such a great contribution and impact to the sustainable future of our country.
Very good. So thank you so much. On the paucity of the time, we're going to stop here, but few messages I'm taking away. First, I think we all agree that we need intelligence, be it the grid, be it. So, the need is there. I loved that it's not going to be one individual play. It has to be a partnership play, an ecosystem play, and the expertise and the learnings of each one of us comes together and we co-create. That's the thing. And of course, I take from the example that there is market out there are billions of dollars available, but I think the green premium, the brown premium, and what we do is also important for the society and the planet. I think the speed still to be worked on, but at least we can do what we can do together as team, and I'm sure then the snowball effect comes. Thank you once again, Madhav Dasji and Radha, for spending this time. But any final word? Thank you, Madhav Dasji. Thank you, Radha, once again. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, I know we've been keeping you awake for a while. The fun part starts now. What we're going to unveil today is the entire technology which Olivier, Manish Kumar, Manish Pint, Dr. Bin spoke about is right there. We have built 60,000 square feet of innovation by real examples, by segments, by applications, with intelligence inbuilt. So do you come from pharma? If you come from processes, you come from grids, auto, homes, any infrastructure or data centers, please take the opportunity after a warm cup of coffee or tea and explore the 60,000 square feet innovation hub we have built for all of you to touch and feel technology. Once again, thank you so much for coming over and spending this afternoon with us. We look forward and will join you at the dinner post the exploration of the Innovation Hub. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest part of the day. Thank you.